From being Netflix's #1 trending show to being the most discussed topic on social media, controversy struck when the real-life Martha actually came forward. She was being portrayed negatively in this hit show Baby Reindeer. She has now launched her formal suit against Netflix, and today we're going to dive into that suit in particular to see her chances in how she's gonna fare off. Of course, I'm not going to be discussing the actual show or pretty much talking about the show in general, or even talking about the show at all in that respect. But what I will be going through in today's episode of Heinz's Laboratory is to basically go through the complaints that she has raised and what are her chances in faring with these complaints. So, of course, the jurisdiction is California. So, yeah, that's what's going to be focusing on. Now, immediately, Fiona Harvey actually highlights that the main part or the main theory that her case hinges on is the fact that Netflix in every episode always puts out that this is a true story. Of course, we have to take caution here because this isn't the first time it's been done in movie land or film land or whatever you want to call it. Fargo is actually well known for doing something like this. Even though it's a complete fictional story, they still put out that this is a true story. I personally love Fargo myself, but that's neither here or there. What she's saying is this is enough to establish the claim that she has been defamed, and it will basically hang every course of action that she's laying out in this suit. On top of defamation, where she's suing, she also mentions that her privacy has been breached, and there's a negligence as well as gross negligence that has been displayed by Netflix by their use of her likeness in certain ways. I'm going to go through every single course of action and what I believe their merits are on its face, with cases to back up what I'm saying. But immediately here, I just want to go start off here with the privacy claim, because she's the one that we can't forget the fact that she's the one that actually came forward in the interview with Piers Morgan. The reason why I say we can't forget this is because she argues that internet sleuths were the one that found her out, that she had no choice but to come forward and rebut these allegations. However, she wasn't the only person that was being tracked down by these internet sleuths. The internet sleuths have actually tracked down who they thought was the other assailant of Richard Gadd, which was the one that sexually abused him and raped him, etc. However, Richard Gadd went on record to say, if I wanted to write real people, I would have done a docuseries, which lets you know that, in my opinion, this is in the realm of fiction. The House of Commons in Scotland were asking Netflix in regards to true nature of this.
Baby Reindeer is an extraordinary story. And it is obviously a true story of the horrific abuse that the writer and protagonist Richard Gadd suffered at the hands of a convicted stalker.
They didn't do themselves any favors, in my opinion, because this is going to come back and bite them if they do not actually have something of substance to produce to the Commons in this particular case. However,
she's been identified,
whilst also striking a balance with the veracity and authenticity of Richard's story, because we didn't want to anonymize that or make it generic to the point where it was no longer his story, because that would undermine the intent behind the show.
I'm going to go back to the part that she did come forward, which is a voluntary disclosure in my opinion, because when you come forward despite there being anonymity, that's the reality of this. There was anonymity with the character in terms of her being called Martha, as well as the other character that I just mentioned. There was no impetus for her to come out and say all this. Of course, a Twitter handle was found on all those things, but so was other people. Of course, you would have to argue, how much privacy are you actually saying that Netflix breached when you are the one that's voluntarily coming forward to say that yes, some of these things that are being depicted are true in the interview with Piers Morgan? That is something that has to be now, that she has to now contend with. I don't think the privacy claim insulates Netflix from making defamatory statements. So she has argued that the conviction that they have portrayed in the Netflix series is defamatory. Of course, they will have to prove this, and the one sure way of proving it is by actually presenting papers. This is very straightforward. If they don't actually have this, then I believe that this claim will definitely survive. Then you also have the second claim, in which she claims that she has never assaulted Richard Gadd. I personally don't know where this is going to go. I think that this one will head to trial, in which they're going to have to establish the facts there and there. Because if you're claiming that someone is, assaulted you in one way or the other, that is automatically an assumed damages under California law, which you then have to go on ahead to give your testimony and prove one way or the other whether this is true or not. Actual malice is going to be a very difficult thing to prove, because clearly Richard Gadd is now a public figure. Netflix is definitely a public well-known company. So personally, I don't know whether this will be dismissed or not. If you send incessant messages or anything like that, and it's easily shown that, like, they've shown you Twitter, all of those things, this can constitute as stalking. It might be very hard for her to get this over the line, because again, if Richard Gadd actually, if Richard Gadd actually shows that there are text messages that she was actually stalking me, it may not have to be physical stalking, which might be harder to prove, but it could be enough that the text messages that she's been sending, all those things, could be characterized as stalking and harassment. So under California law, so that's something to think about. The claim of Harvey never stalking a police officer, I think this part might get protected by the First Amendment, because there is nowhere for you to even prove that she was the real Martha anyway, was actually stalking a police officer. It just seemed like something that they just thrown in there, in my opinion. It's actually very interesting that she highlights the stalking. She highlights that she never hits Richard, because that's the other claim in this part, that she actually never hit Richard Gadd or attacked Richard Gadd whatsoever with a glass. She highlights this, but she doesn't highlight that she never hit the other woman. The other woman, the trans woman in the show. I believe her name was Terry. Played by Nava. She never highlights the fact that she never hit her. So either this event is a true depiction, you can just easily get the real Terry in to come and testify, etc. You may deny not attacking him here, but you don't deny the fact that you never attacked him at all. I don't know how it's done legally. I'm not a lawyer. I should have said that at the beginning. Now you know. I'm not a lawyer, but I would actually want to know if you can actually use this argument to say how far are you really going to go into try and say that all these things are factual. Are you picking and choosing which one is fake, which one is real? Because this one is happening in front of people. The one that you're claiming did not happen in front of people. So which one is it? Unless I'm misunderstanding the show, then this is a very awkward moment in this review. So in regards to the fifth course of action, which is the violations of right of publicity under California common law, is where I think her strongest case could be made. Because she argues that at all times defendants knew that they did not have permission to use Harvey's identity or likeness for commercial purposes. And before that, paragraph 119, she argues that defendants use Harvey's identity and likeness for commercial advantage without her consent, resulting in injury to Harvey. There is a case in which Clint Eastwood sued National Enquirer. They were using his face likeness without their permission. It was a love triangle kind of story. I don't have the full details. The point is he won that case, and it was set out that even though that you're a public figure, it does not mean that you can take someone's likeness, etc., and use them for your own commercial benefits, not without their consent. This was in 1983. This decision was kind of extended for private figures in 2010 with the Paris Hilton versus Hallmark case, and that particular case is where they used Paris Hilton's likeness, etc., to sell one of their Hallmark cards. I believe it was a birthday card. So I'm not too sure the exact details, working off memory. But point was, it basically affirmed that irrespective of the person's status, basically whether there's public or private figure, etc., that no one has the right to take someone's likeness or image, etc., and use it for commercial purposes. The thing is, though, despite this argument was being made under... I hate living in town. The interesting twist is this argument was being made under public interest when Hallmark was arguing that their cards were for public interest. It was firmly established that everyone has a sole control of their image and likeness, irrespective of whether they're a public or private figure. And just because it is being argued that it's done in a public interest, there is nothing that was in Hallmark that suggests that this is of reporting or doing anything like that, which would constitute public interest. So because of that, Hallmark lost. But that's where I think Netflix could actually gain, because yes, the Hallmark case actually does make it a bit stronger for Fiona Harvey to actually take her case forward. In fact, I actually believe this is the strongest case law that actually backs her. But again, should Netflix decide to launch a public interest defense and say they do have a case, in my opinion, they actually can argue that this particular show did cause enough discussion, irrespective of some of it being dramatized, etc. The main message was not to defame Martha, for example. They actually did. They could argue that they did take steps to the privacy by the anonymizing of Fiona Harvey by giving her a fake stage name, a different actor that doesn't. I mean, okay, she does resemble Martha, but that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is there are other parts of the show that you can actually argue could be seen as dramatics. Like for example, I have seen therapists break down the psychology of stalkers or in regards to this particular subject. I have seen them say the same thing, that when it came to that final scene where the stalker is the one that actually apologizes and pleads guilty, they say that this is actually a massive disconnect because they actually think everything that they're doing is justified. Fiona may have a difficult time getting this case over the line. I said, let's say that for some reason Netflix gave all the receipts for the text messages, they gave all the receipts for the conviction, they won their claim that some of the parts could be dramatized and is not necessarily putting Martha in a false light, because ultimately it was a fictional character that they were making and the events were true of only Richard's life and Richard's portrayal of him. That's it. Even if they were to prevail on that, they cannot prevail on this, because end of the day, Richard still did use real life signifiers that led to Martha. Those were not consensual. You are not allowed to go and take tweets that were from real people and put it into there. That's where I think that she actually can prevail with this particular lawsuit in regards to the violation of publicity.
Did also work very closely with the Susie Lampley Trust, who runs Britain's National Stalking Helpline, and also We Are Survivors, in promoting and launching the show. And they've said a lot subsequently about what the series has done to drive the conversation around this often quite taboo topic, particularly for male victims of stalking, and the amount of interest and inquiries.
The only retort Netflix has, again, is public interest.
And how does lying whether she was a convicted stalker or not serve that better?
This is the unfortunate part of public interest. If you're doing something to serve for a public interest, it means that you were not maliciously going after Fiona Harvey in this case. Because you were trying to raise awareness, not necessarily trying to get this person to be outed and be thrusted into the public eye. I would argue that they did take significant steps to transforming the character. There were some good parts that she is not even objecting to. So could this work in their favor to say, no, we actually did take creative elements? No, Fiona was actually worse than this, actually. But we made up this great grand image of her so that you can empathize more with her so it can make the story more, but she's actually worse in real life than this. Who knows? They could actually go down that route. Could that help their defense? I don't know. Netflix does have a treasure trove of cases, like the case of the Queen's Gambit. The real life chess champion that was portrayed in the Queen's Gambit, Netflix were not successful in getting the case thrown out. Nona Gaprindashvili actually showed proof that she was actually faced at least 59 men in her career, but in the Netflix series, they said that she never faced any men. So that was the nature of that suit, and that one was quickly settled the minute they couldn't get the case dismissed. You also have the ongoing case right now in regards to another well-known popular limited series known as Inventing Anna, and this was the case of Anna Sorokin. The former Vanity Fair editor, who goes by the name of Rachel Deloche Williams, actually sued Netflix and has gone past the dismissal stage. The case has not been dismissed, and this decision was made on around March 2024. Now, would Netflix decide to settle this case? I don't know. Her arguments over there are pretty strong. You also have, just for balance and fairness, there are other cases that have been coming against Netflix, and they have withdrew from the lawsuit, simply because it's very hard to take this on and actually win in terms of dramatization and portrayals. There has not really been any win yet. Most of them has either ended in settlements or has ended in it just doesn't go to court at all. You have the case of Affliction, where Netflix were doing a documentary kind of series in which these individuals were being portrayed as all of these things were happening in their minds, and they had some kind of mental condition rather than the actual real life underlying condition that they had that was causing them to do the acts that they were doing. The show is called Afflictions. I've never seen it, so I can't really, working up memory is difficult. I can't really specify exactly what was going on within the show, but after launching the suit and getting it past dismissal stage, he actually survived. He went on. They withdrew without prejudice, without even a settlement or anything like that. So there's that, and there's also the case of the Central Park 5. In that series, where Feinstein sued Netflix, it survived the dismissal. It was actually a month away from going to court, where Feinstein would actually have to go and sit down and testify to the truth of what was going on, or whether she was a crooked prosecutor that was after these boys. She chose to settle the case. She received nothing. The Innocent Project received $1 million from Netflix, and the director went in on her and said that she just wanted the settlement. She did not want to sit in trial to go through anything that Netflix was actually portraying. I have no idea where this is gonna go, is my point. I really have no idea where it's gonna go. The one thing that sets those things apart, in Netflix defense, in my opinion, the cases that I brought out, except for Inventing Anna, which I guess you can say is loosely fiction, but they did say in Inventing Anna that it was based on a true life story, sort of. Oh, they play around with that. But in regards to the Central Park 5 and all those things, those were documentaries, etc. Like Afflictions that I mentioned, those were documentaries. This is not. As Richard Gadd said, he would have done a documentary if that was the case. This is not. So it could go all the way. It's based on everything that I've looked up. In this case, it could literally make it to court, where most of these things are going to have to be litigated in front of a jury. Would Netflix allow that and perhaps face the prospect of being of losing their first ever case like this? I doubt it, because it would really impede their future work. So who knows? But yeah, if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe to this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, make sure you check out our sister channel, Catch Up Court, where we go through filings as well as trial watch of the trials that we do cover, or may not even have the chance to cover here. So if you like extra content, if you like that bonus content, make sure you head over to Catch Up Court and at Catch Up Court. The links are below. Also consider becoming a member of the channel, where we have exclusive Catch Up Man videos ready for you. and you can see these videos early, this exclusive content, as well as exclusive interviews just for those that are members. And I just want to give a quick shout out right now to the current members of the channel, who go by Yellow Bean and Random Girl. Thank you so much for becoming members of the channel. Make sure you sign up for the Patreon service Heinz. It's very similar to be honest. So even if you join either one or both, the support is really appreciated. But in all fairness, you can choose to join either one. Also, on top of that, make sure you join the Discord server that we are launching very soon. It's called Heinz. Again, links will be in the description for you to join. Check out the other interviews that I've done on the channel in regards to Heinz's Labyrinth, where we went through the depth you heard Labyrinth. All of the interviews that I've conducted for that docuseries is available on this channel, so make sure you go check them out, especially the interview with a clinical psychologist known as Martin Seeger, who spoke with me in regards to bias against men, as well as a slew of other interviews on the channel. So without further ado, take care of yourself, have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.